and welcome to the Being and Becoming podcast. My name is Logan Hauer. I'm joined today by my two regular hosts, Austin Stone and Patrick Dyer. Fellas, how are we doing today?
Wonderful.
Still doing great.
This conversation will be a shooting the breeze, which we've been breezing through our previous ones and really enjoying. So I wanted to start this one by just seeing how you guys are doing.
Well, I'm looking at some new job opportunities and finishing up the semester of a long-term substitution teaching school year. So it's been good.
That's exciting. It seems like from what we've been talking about off air that you have some exciting possibilities to be thinking through, working through, praying through. So I'm excited for you for that. And yeah, how has the end of the school year been shaping up?
It's been good. So, I've been a history teacher, subbing in the history teacher position for a semester at Cincinnati Christian Schools. And this is the school that Patrick, Logan, and I graduated from in 2018. Patrick
14.
Oh, shoot. Just testing you.
For the listener, we graduated high school in 2014, college in 2018.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Patrick and I had been at CCS since kindergarten. So we were K through 12.
Wow.
Logan came in freshman year. My best friends are still Patrick and Logan and our friends from CCS. So people find friends in college. I found them in high school. So
Same.
So it was weird for me to come back and sub for CCS because I'd come back from this hike from Chicago and it was just a transitional time. So it worked out. Good place, good time to sub at a Christian school. So it was weird to go back into this school because it was like, wow, I'm so much different from when I was here. But then it helped me to realize that this is a different school from when I was here. It's not the same school.
Wow.
It's developed, it's changed. And that helped me to step into my role as a world history and research teacher, which I've enjoyed so much. It's been challenging, making lesson plans. I don't have a teaching degree. I've never taught before. But wow, I'm so happy with the result of this semester. But this past week, I experienced a tradition that's been going on at CCS for a very long time. And that is, when it's the seniors' last day, they get up to the track. So the way that the school is built is that there's a big gym kind of in the middle, and then there's a track with lockers surrounding it. Above it, the seniors would do a lap around the track when the bell rings on their last day. And that's something that Patrick, Logan, and our high school friends did in 2014, and it was emotional. It was amazing. Some of the best feelings of my life of just doing this with my friends. And I was looking forward to the future. So I was looking forward to that and happy with how my high school career went. But here I was this past Friday watching the new group of seniors 9 years later doing the lap around. It was emotional. I was holding back tears. And I was standing next to Caleb Snyder, who is a guy who has been working at CCS this past year. And
I didn't know that.
He graduated in 2013. So it literally had been 10 years since he did that lap around. So I was telling him about that, and he was like, 10 years is crazy. So it was just very emotional for me. And I know Logan and Patrick have thoughts on the high school career and CCS. So,
as the listener is well aware of, all three of us are very thankful for our high school experience and obviously have nothing but great remarks and things to say about it. And to Austin's point, this lap around the track was this signifying moment for the seniors that you were free, you were going off into the world with high aspirations to do well, to do good things. It's funny to watch when you're an underclassman because, you just notice people being happy and excited. Oh, it's kind of fun. But then when you're the one doing it as a senior, to Austin's point, there's this emotion. So you recognize you're not going to see some of these people again, or you might not see some of these people ever again. Obviously, you're kind of running alongside your friends and stuff, but there's just that it's a rite of passage.
Yes.
That the school does so well. And even though it's one lap around our school track, which I think you also explained, Austin, but the school track kind of sits on the second floor of the school, and then the rest of the student body is down in the gymnasium, which is on the first floor. So they're looking up as you're running around the track. There's something, yeah, that's just so emotional and powerful about that. So when Austin was telling Pat and I that he got to experience that this week, but on the other side, we definitely wanted to get some of those thoughts on the podcast. And Austin, you had said that you were emotional. I just wondered if you could take us through what was going through your mind. Obviously, you're thinking about when we ran it together, but what are some either memories or just thoughts or words that you had flowing through your mind?
Time machines do not exist, but that was pretty close. That moment. This past semester I taught 8th graders and 9th graders, so I didn't even know the 12th graders. I didn't even have an emotional connection to these students. But I was fighting back tears because it transported me back, because I saw some kids running, and just even the slowest kid in the class is just booking it, and it's like you just feel like it's a rite of passage, but it's so symbolic, because it's symbolic of the effort you put into high school and the relationships you had and how hard it was. But they're going and they're motivated and they're running and they complete the track, signifying that they completed their high school career, which is a big deal for a lot of students. And I just felt it, and I just felt the love. And Logan has this wonderful picture of us doing it in 2014, and my hand is up in the air, and people are like lifting me up or something. I got the craziest look on my face. You've had that as your wallpaper for a long time, but that feeling.
It's one of my favorite pictures ever, and whenever I need a smile, I look at it. It was my wallpaper for almost 8 years, I think.
Oh my god.
Yeah, on my phone.
Oh.
But I did recently change it. I'm married now, so it's now me and my wife.
You have to do that. Could you
Right.
put that on the show notes, or I would love to be able to have listeners to be able to have that picture.
That's a great idea. Maybe I could use the picture for the art or something for this
That'd be
episode.
cool.
That's a good idea.
Whoa, that's a great idea. Okay.
I think my back's to the camera on that one, and you see how sweaty I am, man.
Oh
Oh my gosh.
Shout out to Dakota Moon's mom, who's such a good photographer.
Yeah, and Pat's saying, maybe we don't use that picture.
No, hey, I'm fine with it. That's me, baby.
Patrick, what was that lap like for you that day? Did it suck? Because I know you're a sentimental guy and you don't like moving on from good times.
Yes, that is unfortunately very true. Accurate description of me. It did suck. It also didn't suck at the same time. The parts that didn't suck was doing it with you guys for sure. Just knowing that even afterwards we'd be together. So that didn't suck. But I think actually what sucked the most about it was just being unsure of what I wanted to do in the future regarding the summer or the next year. But that's a personal problem, not being able to. I like routine a lot, and school is obviously a very good routine, easy to follow, structured. So,
well, that's all part of your answer. I mean, I knew I was going to go to Chicago at Moody. Logan knew he was going to Anderson in Indiana. Did you know you were going to Hamilton, Miami Hamilton? See that does suck.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't. Not at that time.
Yeah.
So that, yeah.
So, sorry, Pat, kind of piggybacking off that last point, though. I do think, even though I knew where I was going, Austin, you knew where you were going. I don't know if you guys felt this way too, but the last couple weeks of the school year, you don't want it to end. Even though I kind of knew my next steps, I didn't want to think about that yet. I just wanted to live it's so present in the moment and enjoy every last bit of time we all had together. Because Pat was saying, it was a routine we could rely on and expect every day. We were going to come to school. I knew I was going to see you guys and like our friend group, and just every day was so meaningful, fun. All of the things that make life worthwhile was packed into those moments together at school, especially in those last couple weeks when you're anticipating this big change. I'm not someone that enjoys change necessarily. that's the odd thing was I knew I was going to a good place for college. I knew that it was the right place for me to go to, but I was not excited for it yet. Yeah, I was in the moment, in the present, just didn't want that time to end. I was just holding on to each day.
I recognized very early on how unique our situation was. And I mean, like, very early on, like when we were young, much younger, before senior year even was a thought. And so, unfortunately, I always knew I would dread the day when it would be done and that everyone would, unfortunately, go their separate ways. But that to me is probably what that probably sucked the most, I guess, actually. Just the symbolic nature of the moment and the event.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a pretty good class. I mean, I liked everybody. I knew everyone's name. Had a good relationship with everybody.
We had an amazing class.
Patrick was voted most friendly. I was voted most gullible.
That's true. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I took it for granted.
Oh, I know you didn't. I know you didn't, Patrick. That's an awesome quality about you. That's true.
Thanks.
Pat, I remember when I came to CCS for my visit, Austin had mentioned I came my freshman year officially. It was when I switched from public school and went to CCS. But I visited at the end of 8th grade, and most kids had already made the decision that they were switching, but we were like one of the last people to go, and we came at the end of that 8th grade year. And I still remember I met you.
Yeah, I remember that
at the end of the visit, and I was so impressed with you as a I'm like, I could be friends with this guy. If other people here are like this guy, I'm going to like it here.
Heck yeah, baby. I remember that too.
Yeah, and you've maintained that trait, or it's in essence just who you are. You've maintained that so well.
That's who I am.
And so when you say that you knew you had a good thing, or we had a good thing going at the time when we had it, I don't doubt that for a second, because even the first time I met you, I knew that you loved being at that place. And I could tell just in a brief interaction that I wanted to be your friend. This was a guy that like I wanted to be around. So
yes,
for some reason that doesn't surprise me that you knew probably before the rest of us that we had a good thing going. It was just such a special time in our lives, and hopefully the listener is not tired of the reminiscing. A beautiful way to end the topic that we're currently talking about would be to get your guys' thoughts on, since time has progressed, are you where you thought you'd be at? Are you doing better, worse? Just some insight that you have now that you didn't have 10 years ago. How do you think life has been going? What advice might you give to a younger self?
I think the answer to that question so much depends on the day, because when you start asking that question, I just fight with myself. Like, oh yeah, I totally am not where I thought I would be, but then I'm like, oh my goodness, I've grown so much. So it's
right.
You just opened up a whirlwind inside of myself.
And that is a great question. I would also say it probably depends on the day, but probably most days I would say I am not at all where I thought I would be. And I actually don't like that, to tell you the truth. But, yeah. But I am not where I want to be. That is for sure. But that doesn't mean I can't not be who I am and not try to love the people that are around me. And it doesn't mean I can't do what I'm supposed to do.
Amen.
Exactly.
But it's definitely not what I want. That's for sure.
And we're still young. We're going through...
Exactly. Yeah.
We're reading a lot of books. We're having good conversations. We're trying to aim our lives into more of the direction we want to grow. And I think it's one of the cool things about doing this podcast is that we're essentially recording where we're at, and hopefully over time we can see maybe a little bit of where we were, how we're growing. And to your guys' point, to answer that question that I posed, I'm not at all where I thought I would be in 10 years. And a lot of that's good, a lot of that's bad. Or not, sorry. A lot of that's good. There are a couple things that I think I would have wished I had done differently. One of the, again, going to the advice piece I would have given my younger self is just be more confident. Don't be afraid to put myself out there and take opportunities. Plan for the future. I would highlight that one probably more than the other two. But plan for the future, take advantage of opportunities or seek out opportunities. I definitely had a go with the flow kind of mindset. Things are going to work out and be okay, which is good. It's good to have peace of mind. But I think also to have the confidence to try to figure out what I want and then pursue that, have an aim, go after it. I think that would have been very beneficial for me 10 years ago.
Which is something I think you have developed in yourself, but didn't have right out of high school. So, yeah, that's always a tough question about regrets.
Oh, yeah. There's actually this idea, I believe it's Nietzsche's idea, of amor fati, which is to love. It's something about loving your fate or your destiny despite the other decisions you could have made. Because obviously we're going to make missteps, but we end up where we end up. And the way I understood it in the YouTube video that I watched was you love your fate despite the other choices you could have made to have made your outcome better. And I think part of that amor fati, or loving your fate, loving where you're at, has to do with the people you surround yourself with. You guys are definitely two people that I know I can voice any concern to or lean on, and that makes it a lot easier to acknowledge maybe I'm not where I thought I would be or where I wanted to be, but I'm in good company. I think that is incredibly important.
Oh my god.
And some of the job stuff I'm liking. Yeah, I'm thankful overall. I'm in a much better place than I deserve to be, and I'm thankful for that.
What advice would you give to yourself, Austin?
Don't be so freaking afraid of females.
Spit some game, baby.
As far as starting conversations or having
Starting conversations, I think I had a messed up view of sexuality. I was kind of beating myself up for the ways that I felt like I was failing sexually and morally, and like I would have said, hey, Austin, in senior year, sexuality is part of being a human, and you shouldn't be blaming yourself for having sexual attractions and feeling sexually, but the Holy Spirit wants to help you integrate that into who you are and wants to help integrate that. Your sexuality does have to do with your social interactions. They're not all sexual interactions, but if you're acting unhealthily in a sexual way, that's going to affect your ability to socially interact. And I felt like I experienced that in high school and some of college. So just like try not to be so hard on yourself, I would say, and invite the Holy Spirit into that process of being okay with your sexual attractions and honoring God with them at the same time.
I think we're all hard on ourselves, obviously, because we have things that we value, so then we're not living up to our ideals or our values. It makes sense to have that internal conversation or having conversations with trusted friends and mentors, but at the same time, you have to give yourself that grace, that breathing room, and I think you were touching on that. I can't change overnight, but what am I aiming towards? Every day, every week, where am I moving closer towards? And I think that you've let Patrick and I in on this journey with you for a number of years, and obviously every day isn't perfect. And for Pat and I as well, none of us has a perfect life or perfect day, but we all have things that we value and we're aiming towards, and we have things we're trying to escape or maybe even deal with or integrate from our past or from our shadow self, which we've talked about here, which is a Jung concept. But just want to say that I hear you and I understand you and respect you.
Thank you.
Pat, what about you? What advice are you giving to your younger self?
Oof. There's probably a lot of advice. First thing that comes to mind is probably recognize why I have the passions I had and figure out a way to integrate them into a career. So that was one of the big parts, especially leaving high school, is not knowing what I wanted to do because I had so many interests. well, so many of those interests didn't need to be a career, nor would they be a lucrative career, but there were so many other ones that could have been that aren't now, just because I missed the time, I guess. And I could still go back and achieve some things, but now it's probably not worth it per se.
Do you have any examples, just out of curiosity, of as far as passions you had that could have led to careers or jobs?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, if I loved chemistry class in high school, some reason. Don't know why. It just naturally came and I really liked it and enjoyed it. And I liked it more than other things. I liked chemistry and anatomy and physiology the most out of all things. So I should have pursued that at university. But the reason I didn't is because so many university counselors and high school counselors, and then everyone else is just like, well, you know, that finding and keeping a job as a chemist or whatever is really difficult. And then so I guess I foolishly let that sway me from doing what I was passionate about.
Yeah.
And thankfully, at least I was able to incorporate anatomy and physiology with nursing, but nursing sucks. So it didn't work out the best, but maybe it'll work out better in the next 10 years. But
yeah, that's such a great point about being passionate about something, but letting the opinion of others sway you. I've had a similar experience because I liked music and playing music and writing music. I knew I wanted to do something in that vein, but I wasn't sure what it was. Obviously, since I've graduated school, I realized the thing that I really did value in that process was writing. And so I didn't necessarily want to be a musician on stage performing, but I wanted to be writing in a writer's room or something to that nature. And we had a class at CCS, our high school, called Chapel Leadership. And the thing I loved most about that class was you just had free reign to create and write.
beautiful.
And try out skits and try out songs. And I've always thought if that class could just be a job, I'd do that job. So I think my major, I would have changed to writing or English, something like that, because I'm so driven by that. And I do it now in my free time. Like, we do this podcast. I also have a poetry account on Instagram that I run. So I just do these knick-knack type of things. But it would have been great if I could have incorporated that into some kind of job pursuit, because I still use my time to work on them. And it would have been great to develop those skills so I could have been better at writing books, movies, TV shows, whatever, or just newspaper. I don't know what it would have ended up being. I'm not unhappy with my career choice. I'm in finance and accounting right now, that type of field. So I'm not unhappy with it, but at the same time, nothing really gets my gears going quite like writing.
Ain't that something, huh?
It's so something cool to hear you talk about your passions and your drives, knowing that that's just so true. Like, oh my, like, as Logan is talking, Patrick is nodding.
Yeah.
And I enjoy chapel leadership for similar but also different reasons that match my strengths too. So
I would be curious to hear those, Austin.
Oh, I love working with people, the collaborative nature of chapel leadership. I was just like, booyah. And I was like, do I want to be a pastor? What do I want to be? You know, I don't know. Like, I didn't know if pastor was what I wanted to be, but something like that, because I loved working with people and being on an equal playing field with other creatives who cared about caring for the student body or a group of people or whatever.
And I have to give you a shout out here too, Austin, because in that class, you would often do things or tasks that no one else would want to do. So the lighting, for instance, no one really enjoyed doing lighting. So you were always up there on the scaffolding with the chapel leadership teacher, director, whatever, chaplain, that's the word. And you guys would be swapping out lights, or you would care about the presentation of the colors and like how they looked on the stage. And then if we had a year or a group of students that didn't want to do the staging, you'd be involved in staging, or you would set up chairs. Wherever the need was, that's where Austin would be. And that's how I remembered you in chapel leadership. And then Pat, unfortunately, I don't think was ever in the class.
I had to do band.
Oh, it was at the same time as band.
Wasn't it?
Sexy sax man over here.
Well, I thought that was a fun kind of quick conversation about some of that. Just again, high school, a little bit of high school reminiscing, a little bit of thinking for the future, a little bit of self-evaluation, but wasn't sure if you guys had any closing thoughts.
Yeah, don't ever let yourself be stuck in a room thinking about your future like you have to be doing it with other people, because you'll think thoughts about yourself that are not true, and you will look down upon about your past and look down upon your future if you're not having people reminding you who you are. And Patrick and Logan have been so instrumental in my life for that role.
Another thing, if you need to seek advice from someone you trust, not many you trust.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I have any other closing thoughts except for thank you guys, and hope that this conversation is helpful to someone out there. I know it's been fun for us, so thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Shooting the Breeze conversation. Please let us know if you have any suggestions as to books we should read or topics we should discuss by contacting us at beingbecomingpodcast@gmail.com. We hope you join us next week for another conversation.